Hi. What was on the abstracts was supposed to be for a meeting with the Forest Service 2 days ago, with a meeting that was planned. However, there was this little issue in Washington, D.C., and the people at the forest couldn't show up on Thursday. So the abstract for that is not that. This is a summary of what we've done with the Peppersauce project for cleaning the graffiti out of the cave, and we'll touch on some things that happened after it. In big numbers, this was in part for a national presentation at the NSS convention, so that we have things like, where is Arizona on the map? Literally. So basically we had a restoration project. We came up with $116,000 of volunteer value to Coronado National Forest, had 160 volunteers over from September 2017 to 2018, 103 men, 57 women. 7 major trips into the cave, cleaning graffiti and doing other things. We removed over 1,500 tags. We installed 57 reflective arrows, including out arrows, which actually said out. And, well, you guys can read. Kiosk panels got updated, 2,800 hours worked, bunch of cash that was donated, equipment donations, $7,500 spent total. We drove 28,300 miles approximately to the cave that's around the Earth Plus. The PBS News Hour, the local PBS station in Tucson, sent a team out. They made a 7-minute video that was shown locally. And November 24th, they showed it nationally, and they showed the whole thing. So it got some national. Pardon me? Ah, okay. We removed a bunch of trash. Turns out, I haven't heard otherwise, this is the largest graffiti removal project in the entire U.S. Forest Service in 2017 and 2018, above and below ground. No ifs, ands, or buts. They can't even come close. Okay, having said that, would everybody who helped on this project please stand up? This is my chance to say thank you to use the guys that did it. Everybody here, thank you all for all this. So, appreciate it. Okay, so yes, we've seen the cave. This is Langbrode's map. As part of the proposal to the forest, I made a digital copy of this map. Said there's what it is. The hypothesis was different. The rules are different because of the clientele that are going into this. The hypothesis is that there are people going into the cave because they don't want to get lost. It's self-preservation, so they've got the spray paint and they're going arrow. And then when you get done with that and get to the big room, they decide that they've got spray paint left over and they go R-A-Y. Can I have another beer, please? So if we take out the reason for the spray paint and put in the reflective arrows, and we'll get to some follow-up data on that, they won't bring in the spray paint. Then the second thing is we remove all the graffiti. That's where everybody spent a whole bunch of time, and then we change the story. So it turns out that Peppersauce has a Facebook page. There are 2,300 followers on this. I was able to get to be an administrator of that. So when we put this out that things are going on, all of a sudden we touched immediately 3,500 people, and it was retweeted 11,800 times in the first week, which is more people that are in the NSS. So the numbers are pretty good. And we understood that there will be setbacks, and when there's setbacks, we okay, so moving right along. The hypotheses categories. So the cave rules are entirely different. This is not 3 light sources, helmet, tell people where you're going, etc. The hypothesis categories are the cave rules, out arrows, and basically, as I said in the proposal, I said out signs. And as soon as I said the word signs, the Forest Service person at the supervisor's office, the SO, came back and we'll have to approve the signs. And I had to send back an email and said, the Forest Service does not have criteria that is good enough for in-cave. One, there's nothing nationally, including from Johanna Kaverick at the national level saying these are approved caves. These signs have to be able to be seen with a cigarette lighter, because that's your last light source by someone who's drunk. Suddenly their conversation stopped. Okay, remove the tag, tell the news media stuff. So what we did is we updated this. We put a sign in the center of this that says, what are the cave rules? These are not your standard cave rules. These are the cave rules. Number 1 rule, no spray painting. Number 2 rule, pee outside the cave. 1 light per person, and that's pushing it, and then remove your trash. And yes, my email address, his name is on the sign. I've actually gotten a couple over the years. They want to know they have the access, but it's not actually there. It seems to have worked. So we started out with, Jeff Stevens is in here somewhere, I don't know where he is. These are highway grade reflective stuff. Henry provided this from the Fort Stanton project. It had to be so simple that it said out in green. You have to be able to see this with a cell phone lighter from wherever in the back of the cave beyond the rabbit hole. These are much smaller. They're still highway grade because we need a smaller footprint. We nailed them into the wall. We caused damage. Given that, we'll talk on why this ended up working. What are these? Then we put them up high. And we bolted them into the wall. Jeff has a battery-powered drill and nails that he provided at his own expense, and we put them up high. Notice that's going on, and there's black spray paint. No, it's not carbide. Up off the trail, so people were actually up at those particular levels going on. Standing out in the backyard, these are what these little arrows look like with a LED and 100 feet away. That's close. If you, wrong one. If you look it up close with a flash 100 feet away. Okay. The graffiti removal equipment, you guys saw a bunch of this stuff. Sandblasting stuff, brushes, power drills, biodegradable solvents with tarps underneath so it never touched the floor, washed off. Nicole was coordinating that portion of it. Telephones, transportation, this whole puzzle went out, and did I just miss a slide? No. Categories, sandblasting, electronic stuff, biodegradable stuff, personal protective equipment, because I don't want to fill out the paperwork because something goes wrong, communications gear, and transportation stuff. This is all the kind of stuff that we used in the cave. All of you that were in the cave are aware of all this stuff. We used, this stuff works. It's a biodegradable solvent. They use the word biodegradable solvent because if you use enough water, H2O bonds with whatever bad things are in there. I can't use that much water underground, so we put blue tarps down, and then we sprayed it on, and then we would spray it off and bring towels in, and so it never hit the floor, and then kept rinsing it off. I tried something called the best graffiti removal stuff in the world. I got a single gallon of that. I used it and tried it, and it did pretty good in my sample area. Left it in my garage for 4 months, and it melted through the plastic onto the garage floor. Came out into the garage one day, and all of a sudden there was stuff all over the floor, and then there was gnashing of teeth and the like. Okay. Water containers, tarps, that's where the stuff went. You're all familiar with this stuff. It's a 575-pound compressor that runs 1,200 feet up to 1,200 feet of 3/4 inch high-pressure hose, which goes to a smaller hose. We have 1,800 feet of 12-gauge electrical cord to run electricity through that, etc. Then this orange stuff is for smaller things to the team. The idea comes out that you take the compressor on the surface, you run it through this hose, you put blue plastic down on the ground and to catch the glass beads, and you want to cave. Lots of hose. Oh, wrong button. The big hose comes in on the left, goes through a regulator. This thing is for compressed air, makes condensation, so that's a water relief valve, pressure gauge, and then it goes to 3 different units coming out. Boom. Okay, we have sandblast teams. These hold up to 30 pounds of glass beads. We were not using walnut shells, which they use on the surface. That'd be a nutrient plume. If it gets high humidity, we're using glass beads because if you breathe it in, you want to be able to aspirate them back out, breathe them back out, and not cause your lungsing. Okay, so face shields, hopper, pressure hose in here. This goes to the hopper, sandblasting removal, out sign. We did this for 7 trips, 3 days a trip. Generated for electricity, lots of electrical wire. We had impact on the cave. We had impact on the wall. And frankly, as far as I'm done with this puzzle. This is biodegradable solvent. Spray bottles. This is just all the equipment's there. Spray the biodegradable solvent on this, wait 10 minutes, brush it off with bristle brushes and then wire brushes if that doesn't work. It turns out that a lot of this comes off with just wire brushes. And then as a backup, you use, in the front part of the cave where we could, the sandblasting where we could collect all the beads, and the backup for that was the last thing was the biodegradable solvents. So, boom. Different kinds of brushes for different kind of tasks, lots of 1 and 2 gallon we used cave water to rinse it all off so we weren't bringing any bad things out. Clean tarps, dirty tarps. Towels, we have 5 buckets of towels. I bought out every towel in a Salvation Army thing, which was sort of entertaining going up there. Oh, by the way, Bob, this was really useful. This is a panoramic of the big room. In the big room, on that wall in black is a tag that says 1480. Apparently 1480 is a code word for white supremacist Nazi-type groups. We found other swastikas farther into the rabbit hole area. Heard that on National Public Radio, said, holy smoke, I've seen that. That was in the room. That got law enforcement involved. They really, yeah, your picture got used, thanks. So this is a panoramic of the whole thing. You've got tags, and all of these are gone. Yeah, she's gone, etc. But out in there was oh, and on the far side of the room of where this 1480 was, also in black, is a thing that Steve Smith was cleaning. I don't know if that's in here. People doing stuff. It's farther along. And it had the same spray paint and names on it. So now we've got names, and now we've got this group. Now we have to get to the next piece of the puzzle. And that was going to be Thursday's discussion. This is what the second room looked like when we got into it. When I made this and did the overlay with the color, I had to find a color that wasn't already on the wall, so I could say second room exit crawl, which really sucks. Okay. Lots of spray painting and communications with phones and things like this. Hours and hours and hours of this stuff. Conservation isn't pretty. Conservation isn't clean. But somebody's got to do it. This happens to be solvent work. You can see the bottle. You can see the bottle in her hand. So all of this is gone. This is before. This is Nicole as the Debbie unit. She couldn't reach this portion. She actually didn't do this. I think somebody else did. You're my scale person. Sorry. So 420 buds for marijuana stuff before and after. Let's see now. This one, I don't know how that worked out to that and why it was so dark. Before on the left, after on the right. This is so let's see. This guy here and that guy there are the same black. Steve, if you're still here. We have the names Patrick and everything, so that's in with the other 1480 thing. So this ladder, they were clear up in there. That's 4 hours, 2 people that kept on this over 2 different trips. It just was obnoxious. This is the far side of the rabbit hole before, and this is the last time we used sandblasting. We did not put tarps down because it was just too hard to move, and we stopped using the sandblasting in there because the weight for getting the equipment that far in versus the value added was not worth it. I put this picture in for specific reading because there's the arrow going that way, and that's the way out, which is pretty thing. This is on the cave side of the rabbit hole, and they're pointing to the little tiny birth canal or whatever it is. And all of these are gone. So what did it look like? So there's the map of the cave, and after the first trip, this is what we got done in September 2017. And then this is, in blue, is November 2017. So blue is what's getting done. Yellow is where we need more work. So we had IOUs, and green is what was preserved. So if we back up one, we had areas where we ran out of time. You can see the yellow blogs in there. And so that's November, and that's February. And we had a team out here. What were we getting into on this? That's why they're there. That's April 15th or so. And we had areas in the big room that we didn't finish off in these. At the end of April, there was a party in the big room, and they had 4-inch logs for the campfire. And natural selection didn't happen because we didn't find any bodies, which was very disappointing. And because then there would have been another kind of paperwork to fill out. And so in June, we cleaned up that extra effort. Why didn't that change? Oh, I hit the wrong button. So that's April, getting through that. And then that was June. And we had to clean up the 30, 40 tags that came in. They were pretty malicious about it. June, that was August. August was a good trip. We had the hammer down, and thank you, everyone. June was a hard month. It was very, very hot. We had less people, and I admit that at the end of June, I got pretty discouraged, and I needed some style therapy. So turns out there's a big room hiding cables in Carlsbad Caverns National Park. So in July, I went over to Carlsbad Caverns and got to go off trail and train lights at things and hide cables and stare at style, and I was cured. So that's August. Blue is in September. And I've also added on these, these little red things are out arrows. So even if they're coming back from the big room and miss the main route going out and they come into this area, they get more out areas. And Jeff is the hero on that. He put in 57 of these things. They have not been molested other than somebody put a little bit of paint on one, which was easily washed off with, or taken off with isopropyl alcohol. So, cave's done, September. We had, we have an IOU over here. So having said that, we've got a few more things to do. Having said that, there have been 2 tagging events that I know of since the end of September. One was in November. There were 13 tags, of which 11 got cleaned up. They found a couple down in the main lake room. It took them 2 hours. We have a go team, cleanup team in Phoenix with brushes and protective equipment. Jeff has stuff at his house. He has more batteries than we have up in Phoenix. We have if you see stuff, we can take care of it. The second one had more scratches and more tags, and almost all of that is gone. That was a second group, and we had people up in Phoenix take care of that. So that's what it looks like with all the different groups on there. Yeah, done with the map. Some other things is telephones. We have a whole bunch of telephone gear. We restored the signs out there and wiped off the tags off of that with the isopropyl alcohol. It turns out that after you clean the formations in the cave, and we'll get back to this side, if you spray it with water and throw dust on it, the next tag that goes on hits the dust and it doesn't get on the rock. And then all you need is slight brushes to go off. For the signs outside, if you clean off the whatever was put on it with the alcohol, take WD-40 and put over it, you have the same effect. So it's much easier to clean off. Boom. Okay. We found a 1940-something Bob Heiner thing. That's still there. That wasn't removed. It's in the main corridor on the right going in. In the main lake room, there is a THS 58 in what looks like black carbide. And it's got a circle around it, and that's been left, and it might be Tucson High School, and he might be 53, and it's on the football team. Don't know, still there. These are rope ladders that were taken out of the cave from both going to the main lake and down towards the rabbit hole. So that's stuff there. Behind the scenes on all of this is the first page of an Excel spreadsheet that adds up who came in on what date, where, approximate mileage that they drove in their car. It's 0 if they're a rider or somebody else drove, hours that they worked, hours that they drove, and accumulated what was spent and where. And if you want to see the receipts, I'm more than happy to continue this saga. The volunteer value for the forest uses this equation, 55 cents a mile in case they had to do it, hours at $23.50, 56 cents a mile, plus whatever money was spent. How they came up with 55 cents a mile for volunteers, I don't know. I limited the amount of hours driven to at or below whatever you spent in the cave working, because we had the sign-in sheets going in and out. So you couldn't drive from Albuquerque and then be in the cave for an hour and say, well, I drove all this time. If you were in the cave an hour, that's your max thing. So, well, did I hit the right thing? So things go to, oh, I missed that. That's 160. That was from the earlier. Whole bunch of people that helped on the surface, leading teams, coordinators, so a whole bunch of photographers that were in there helping off. Several Forest Service personnel, and donations from the NSS gave $1,000 from their conservation fund. The Arizona region, that's this group, gave $1,000. CAG $1,000. Forest Service Washington via Coronado, they got about $1,100 in gear. That came from Johanna through Region 3, through Coronado National Forest. SAG, Escabrosa, and Stuart Lindsay gave a couple $100 of his own stuff. Henry donated some reflective stuff that was really useful. So there you have it. I'll answer any questions. So there you have it. Debbie.
Well, this is a little discouraging because I'd always hoped that once you wiped away tagging, the desire to add your crap would go away. It's like it wouldn't be in your brain.
Right.
Tag, but obviously you cleaned it and people are still tagging.
They're still tagging, yeah. But it is we've only had, since the signs have gone in, we've only had a very few events. It's not going to sit. And those people they're just needed a place to go. You're absolutely correct, and that's going to be a conversation. Yeah, David.
I suspect, and some of this is based on the tags the new tags that we see, that was primarily persistent previous tags.
So they came back.
So, yeah.
And now they're annoyed that you took off their tags. So they
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly, but that's slowing down, and I think that is a case.
So that's the premise is if it's my first cave and I don't see tags in there, I'm not being taught that that's that. So Bob.
You said that there's a quick team that's in Phoenix that can remove tags when they appear, because that's the next step. If the tags don't stay there, then that discourages even the repeaters from bothering. And
Right.
This happened in New York City. Got rid of the subway graffiti by simply making sure that it stay. So your team, what's the deal? If one of the people wanted to work on it, set it up. How can we
As soon as it gets reported in, as soon as it gets reported in, it probably ends up on either the CAG or SAG or whatever things, and then we get people, it said, does somebody want this? I had 2 volunteers for the stuff found in December, November, December. Jeff got busy with other stuff, and we had people up in Phoenix that said, we'll try it in December, and then they tried to go back January 1st, but the weather was bad. So we can maintain it at this point. We don't have to abuse it at this, the bad part's done, I think. Would I want to take this project on again? Not particularly. But we have a chance. It's the first time the cave's been clean in 60 years. So, other stuff? Because I'm out of... Yeah.
What year was the first time we went?
Okay, so this is the 3rd series. The first one happened from December 2001 to June 2003. Some of the people that were on that are still in the room. They didn't learn and ran away. We went through all the volunteer help we could possibly come up with. This was done, and then with that done, we had the reflective arrows high in the ceiling, and it stayed clean through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then somebody took all. They actually had to get ladders because they were way up high like they are now, and all of a sudden the tags came back. So we cleaned it up in 2010. We didn't put up the reflective arrows, and it got pretty bad. So we're on an experiment. It's all in the journey. So, okay, that's it. Thanks.